Hello, Internet. This is Open Source Live April edition, which are my monthly reviews or kind of public accountability slash maybe diary, as I try to on the path of moving to Yes, working in the leading longevity organization, and doing a well-fitted craft in that organization. So I assume this will take a year, maybe two. For God's sake, might take three. But I noticed that I do work much better when I have some public accountability, and this is what Open Source Life is. And these are kind of more monthly reviews where I do smaller upwind projects and I share how I'm going about it and not doing year-long experience and then sharing it all at once. Which I think is a bit better. And I'm trying to move to ES and work in a leading longevity organization and doing the craft that fits me the most to have the most impact as a part of a bigger mission to make dev optional. And I made a separate video talking about why I think this is cool. Briefly, I want to do something. Just a big part of what I want to do with my life is to do something big and impactful and useful for others in a positive way. And making that optional so no one has to die if they don't want to and not forced to, I think is quite a good thing. So, Swiss Watch plan of how to do this has three parts. Is one, to develop a world-class understanding of biology. I, of course, do know a lot about biology, as I've been doing, we'll talk about that in a second. Cheaply test craft guesses and double down on the promising ones. I've made a mistake before of maybe overly being a bit too biased in my guesses, not really treating them like guesses, but just like committing too much without thinking of like, shit, that's an experiment. And three, join a leading organization and maybe do some projects which get me to it eventually. So where I am right now, just briefly updating. Last semester in a business bachelor, I took a year off, and I mean you can find it just on the YouTube, just where you're probably watching it. But the point is, I'm in my last semester. I'm doing my thesis right now, and once I finish it, I'll have one more year to stay in Netherlands, where I don't need to work or anything. So I'm going to use that year to try to get to US and try to learn biology and test some crafts. And so current guess is I like coding. I've built websites, but sadly, regardless of how good of a website you build and how pretty, colorful boxes you make, and even circles, and if you get really, really good, you still won't be able to cure aging. And I do want to do it, and I want to do something quite helpful for it. And so I'm trying AI, which seems to be quite useful, especially for biology. Yeah, and not a lot I know about biology. So, what are the main risks? And so, I'm still developing a better, maybe structure of these monthly reviews, but this is our second try, so just keep it brief, keep it rough. So main risks. Basically, I heard Keith Raboy talk about how you in any project you will kind of want to hire teammates for your company or for your startup that help you to execute and kill the main risks that your startup has. And for them, that's extremely smart idea. And then he quoted Vinod Khosla, and Vinod Khosla talks about how you always want to execute risks, always want to kill risks. And I was like, damn, that's extremely smart. So when you have you are at point A and you want to get to point B, and you have some projects, to get from A to B, what is the next thing you do? Like, do we just start working? I think it's extremely smart to think beforehand. Okay, what are my main risks, and how am I tackling them to make sure they don't fucking happen? And then, as I assume with all Silicon Valley history, it all comes down to Andy Grove, because I realized that Vinod probably took it from Andy, because Andy wrote, I knew of his high output management book, but I did not know he wrote a book. Only the Paranoid survived, of course, which, as I understand, is mostly about how that in any project you want to think about risks and execute those risks. I think it's really smart. I try to incorporate it more, and so we think about what are the main risks of me in this year or maybe 2 years journey. Is one that I fail my bachelor right now. I have quite ambitious thesis, and they have in business bachelor they have some requirements that might not perfectly fit my thesis. While my thesis is useful, we'll talk about my thesis in a second. But the point is just making sure that my thesis fits the requirements so I don't fail it and fuck it up, because I don't know what happens if I fail my thesis, because I won't be able, as I think, to stay in Netherlands on study visa for 1 more year because I've already used that ability in my past year doing a self education. So it's just a thing I don't want to think about, and I want to make sure that I don't fail it, so I don't have to tackle this problem. Yeah. Now regarding coding and guesses, basically the main mistakes I made before is I took too long on the feedback loop, and I was a bit too biased and not treating those indeed guesses as experiments and really being like, I'm experimenting. We have to do it fast. We have to iterate and learn and keep on going. So being really intellectually honest, which is hard. Um, and once found, underestimate how long it takes. Let's say it's AI. Yeah, it's pretty much um, borderline delusional. It's not extremely delusional, but it's quite up there to try to become really good in coding and longevity at the same time in a year, right? So it might take longer. And one thing I think also about this, just like making sure that the scope is right. Maybe you can do it in a year when you really kind of know what exactly you are learning and kind of punching the same spot again and again to get in. Um, but if you do punches all over and kind of go in all over directions, you never get anywhere. And that's kind of also what I think about with biology. So just underestimate, just Dunning-Kruger effects. I think it's when you don't know a lot and about the field and you think you know a lot, but it's just because you know so little of the field, you think the field is small, while it's actually extremely big. And so underestimate how much time it takes to learn biology because people do bachelors for it. And while I've been a bit cocky and try to do like learn coding and so on without doing the bachelor and work pretty well, yeah, with biology it's still you want to be cautious and yeah, again, fuck up the learning scope, right? So go in too many different directions, not in one specific, and thus take too much time, and the projects take too much time, and yeah, I fuck up my time constraints. And lastly, yeah, basically budget, spend too much or earn too little. These are quite risks. And yeah, these are general. I don't have a lot of savings, so I have to be smart about how I spend my money and how I earn it, and make sure that I earn in a way that doesn't take all of my time. Because of course I can get a job, but the point is that job won't let me to move to US and join a leading longevity organization while doing something that I find well fitted. So yeah, one has to be just smart about it. That gets us to May, but first we'll go about what happened in April. So in April, we talked about how basically the priority is meta science X longevity thesis and make it actually useful for industry. I've talked previously how it's basically I'm trying to look at kind of trade-offs longevity scientists are willing to make. Basically, um, the thesis behind the thesis is that the main bottleneck of longevity, one of the main bottlenecks voted in longevity industry by experts and just people working in it, from researchers to, I don't know, content creators, even in longevity, was lack of funding. While I think a lot of people work on increasing the funding, in my position, I can't do a lot of trying to find LPs and make them raise the fund and so on. But what I can do and kind of unique angle is to, okay, guys, we have these funds. Are we making sure that we're using them the best way possible? Um, and specifically, I kind of think of it not so far away as, I mean, scientists are the powerhouses of the industry. And it's not so far away as like we might be mistreating them and not giving them um, enough importance in how we allocate funds and really thinking about what funders want, but maybe we should take much more seriously people who are actually doing the job. And it kind of mirrors the maybe founders fund idea back when it started, when they're like, yo guys, we're doing startup funding, and actually it's all about founders. And that's quite a revolutionary idea at the moment, but now it's obviously a bit ridiculous to say, yeah, no shit. When you do startups, you probably should care about what its founders want. But it seems like it mirrors quite well the idea of like we're doing science and maybe what researchers want, they actually know best, and maybe we should take it quite seriously. Thus, um, yeah, I just want to, I'm doing a survey of longevity sciences and seeing, and I'm doing it with my shadow supervisor who is also involved in the field quite heavily and can help me a lot. Um, just doing a thesis and being like, well, shit, no one has done a survey. There's no paper um, in any field, not just longevity, but in meta science in general, of what researcher priorities are in funding. Do they care the most about how much freedom they have, how much money they have, how long it takes, how fast they get approved, and so on? There's no paper about it, which seems somewhat important to have. We're doing startup funding, and we have not asked what founders fucking care about. Um, and this is what we're doing for longevity industry. Yeah. So briefly on my thesis, I could have done something solid, so just get me through the line of the bachelor and maybe focus more on coding and biology. But I found these to be a compelling bet as a project where I think I can be useful to in the industry and actually do the impact, which I think is the point of all projects, while also develop good skills, get um, connections slash some interactions with people who are actually already in longevity and show that, hey guys, I can do something useful. Yeah, so that seemed like a good bet, and I have to make sure that I don't overinvest in it, where to the point where it becomes a bit of a poor bet. And yeah, keeping up with the budget. So how did all those four go? I did prioritize no coding, no biology. So here I think quite clear. Keeping up with the budget was rather not perfect. It was okay. I did not buy a Porsche 911 on my backyard, but yeah, maybe it could have been better here and there. Um, yeah, but still, yeah. Mm, Now, kind of main things I was worried, or let's talk about KPIs first. So, kind of a few things I was focusing on is like how many hours have I worked, how many listening days I've done. So every day, just thinking about what was the one moment where I have specifically listened to the other person. While I do listen to other people when I talk to them, but this is a really high bar where I absolutely put all of my fucking attention and make it. It's like listening. Just sport every day, and every day just writing one thing I'm thankful for. Yeah, and repeated mistakes is a separate thing. So I work 200 hours. 200 hours is around 50 hours a week, which is not it's not perfect in my position because I've already done those hours and I know I can do it. But the point is, this April is the month where I have my birthday and I travel around to see my family in different parts of Europe. Um, and so it's more like not 4 weeks but three. And for 3 weeks I've done like 60-hour work weeks, which is quite respectable, and something I try to go for. So hours of work, I'd say plus minus, it's okay. Listening days, listening, sport, the thankful days, I decided not to count them specifically and show it to you, but just keep them in my mind and remember about them, not like hours of work, because maybe it's a bit too much porn productivity. But I do think about them daily. I think sport and thankfulness has been indeed great. I think I have like quite good streaks here and there, um, and sometimes not streaks, but altogether I think they are like maybe here and there, like up to 20 days up, which is great. Listening has not been has not been going good. It's not because I don't listen, but I just, oh shit, cramp in my leg. It's just yeah, it's after sauna and yeah, okay. Um, yeah, I just um, kind of don't remember it, and it's yet not a habit where I put all of my attention and yeah, try to be excellent at listening. Yeah, and weeks like below 140, I have not. I'm not sure if I should do it as a KPI and track it. Maybe it's too much porn productivity, but I do think about it. Yeah, I do think about it. Now, briefly about kind of mistakes I was trying to avoid and keep in mind of is the main ones are work only on bottlenecks and no porn productivity. I do think I was very focused on making my thesis work and very focused on getting sure that the bottlenecks and the key risks are addressed and not just randomly choosing what to work on. So I feel quite proud in it. And I'd say porn productivity was generally in line and I was fine with it. So not a lot. Yeah, and the main risk I was tackling for thesis are not enough responses and bad methodology. Bad methodology as a risk is killed. My methodology is good, it's sound. Yeah, so it will work. So that risk is eliminated, which is I'm quite happy to help to tell. Not enough responses is a real risk. I couldn't done anything really that month there, but I was thinking about how to solve it, and now this is the months where I have to kill that risk or die, because the thesis won't be useful if I don't get enough responses. So let's come to May. May. Yeah. Um, so what's up with May? May basically has generally same priorities. Trying to keep up with the budget, no coding or biology learning at the moment, and I try to make my thesis actually useful and worthy of remark for the industry and learn on the while. Um, and so, specific goal for the month is to submit a passable thesis version by 22nd of May. What that means? Basically, we have the first deadline, and then we have a reset for our thesis. And while what I will submit on 22nd of May will be nothing I will show to the public and try actually people to read, I have to submit something on that deadline that I can get back as a feedback that it passed, right? So I don't have to worry for my reset that I might fail this thesis, where I'll do it, as a final cool version, which is like somewhere around June, like 20th June. Um, and I don't have to worry about it because it will be just unnecessary worry about like, fuck, what the fuck I do with my life if this doesn't get a passable grade? How do I come back to Ukraine? How do I stay in Netherlands? Or yeah, yeah. And this is a really huge goal. This is what the month is about. And holy shit, if I come in June and talk about how I did not do this in May, that would suck balls. Yeah, so I have to do that. It's going to be hard, but it's certainly possible. It requires just prioritization and being on top of things and being excellent consistently for a very long time. Um, yeah, this is a kind of a little reference to CPO of OpenAI. He worked at Meta. I forgot his name, but he really liked a phrase that Zuck said once, where Zuck was asked in I think in quarterly earnings call of like, what do you think was the one breaking point? What are the reason of success? And Zuck says it's just good work good work consistently over a long period of time. And yeah, I found that to be quite a good summation of how I think actually getting shit done works. Yeah, so this is exactly what we have to do in May. Yeah, another little thing, just how do you get to this 22nd of May? Just keep the eyes on the ball of killing the risks and thinking about the bottlenecks. And yeah, just all of this thesis has been quite a good learning opportunity because I learned about meta science field, which I don't know a lot about. I learned about longevity. I learned about how to do proper research. I need to, now get the responses, which is like being more of a marketer slash salesman at the same time. Um, a lot of learnings, but the point is, every time it's really about just persevering consistently, just pushing against the wall, pop, and eventually shit works. And yeah, I think like it's like 90% is just pure fucking perseverance. Yeah, it's kind of so simple, right? It's not even intelligence; it's just perseverance. But yeah, yeah, and just solving painful problem one after another you haven't never met before, and you just have to fucking figure it out. But this is a very good habit to have, and yeah, so I'm quite happy about it. Don't repeat past mistakes and find new, better ones. This is just in general. The only progress is about just finding new, better mistakes to make and not repeating the old ones. And boy, it's painful not to repeat the mistakes you love and do it daily. And yeah, but yeah, doing mistakes is not cool. So yeah, this is just general advice for myself. Is just find new, better, beautiful mistakes to make. And KPIs I'll think of and track is have I worked 240 hours. So basically, generally in the week we have 100 hours, and at my current moment in life, I try to spend 70% of it, so 70-hour work weeks, just on work. This is quite high number, and I think this is pretty much the bar where I want to keep it. I don't want to go to 80. It's pretty much impossible, to be honest. Physically, if you want to sleep 8 hours, and I do want to sleep 8 hours because again, it's about consistently over a long period of time doing good work. So 70 hours is kind of what I see long term, sustainable, and optimal. But we'll see once I do this quite consistently for a while. And spend like last other 30 hours on health and relationships with people that matter to me. And KPIs, yeah, just let's keep it 140 euros below every week of expenses. It's specifically on groceries, not just like living and uni, and that would be quite good. And I probably should, yeah, definitely check this KPI because I think for April it's zero. It's not because I spend millions every week, but it just didn't happen, and that's sad. Yeah, that's definitely something to improve on, to be honest. And I'll just keep in mind thinking for myself every day about like, have I listened? Specifically listening. Sport and thankfulness, to be honest, is going great. And I really like it. and long-term consistent. Listening needs to be fixed. So that's May. But lastly, I want to talk about boy how we're doing on time, because to be honest, I can't go more than 30 minutes on this app. Does it tell? It doesn't tell. Well, we'll know. We'll know. It will let me know, I guess. Learnings and mistakes. So basically, I don't know. I'm still figuring out the structure, but just I'd like to just go back in a month and just see my schedule through, because gladly I track daily, and every minute is pretty much accounted. Every 15 minutes are certainly accounted. Um, and I can see what were my main mistakes and what were the main learnings and try not to repeat them. And yeah, that's how progress works. And so I really like it. Yeah. In March, we've talked about it. Work only on risks, and boy, Koshla is great, and Andy is great, and this is correct. Genuine while research question, listening, when out of your depth, reach out. Yeah, main learnings. Mm, let's start with main mistakes. Main mistakes, yeah, there have been quite some days where I did long dinners. And to be honest, I don't like it. I think it's just a habit of it. And it usually happens because I'm content frying myself. So I'm just listening to some podcast, to some video, and yeah, and it yeah, we'll talk about content frying being not great, and I definitely change my opinion on it, or try to just I just notice how like it doesn't make me feel better, so fuck it. Yeah, so this is the main thing I'll work about. And in May, yeah, in June when I come to you, I shall say I didn't do long dinners, guys, and I haven't done so much content frying of my brain because I don't enjoy it. Yeah, and main learnings for April. Basically, yeah, presence. The best way, we have not a lot of time, kind of a lot, but kind of also not a lot. Depends on you compare it. But certainly, time passes by. We need to remember of death, as right now, sadly, is not optional. And even if it is, you still have to keep account of your time and really use it wisely. And the best way to make sure that you don't waste your time when looking back and regretting it. Oh yeah, I guess this is the second point, but we'll say it. Um, is to make sure you're fully present on whatever you're doing. And I just was reminded of that when I was with my family. It was a great time, and I wish I had more because sadly we are far away from each other. But the best way I can do with the time I have is just to be fully present, and yeah, and then I'll make most of it and won't regret that I have not done something that I wanted to. Yeah, and what is presence? Because it's a fancy word, it doesn't like what exactly it means. It means doing one thing at a time. Like even when you're throwing out the trash, not listening to music or podcast, when you're spending this, 20 minutes getting all the trash here and there, but just focus on the trash. Like um, there's an infinite beauty for eyes that observe, um, and I think that's super true. And even when you throw out the trash, you can find beauty in it. You just have to be present and train your eyes to pay attention to those things. Yeah. Mm. And it's just much more enjoyable to live life like this. Yeah, and regarding presence and content frying, I think also it helps with mood stability. You have more quieter moments, and you just sit quietly and eat, which is unthinkable to me even like months ago, because this is crazy. When you eat, you don't listen to stuff, like very painful, but also very peaceful. And maybe it really positively affects mood stability. I kind of see it where, yeah, I just feel a bit more relaxed, not so intense. And with the productivity, it might be helpful for productivity because you're in little marriage with the problem. You're just living with it for a few days, and you try to solve it, and you don't really think about something else, like Trump, Putin, Zelensky stuff, or like what Coursera is doing and what is its hiring strategy, something like this. It's certainly not so helpful when I try to do meta science slash longevity thesis. Um, yeah, so you had just have more quiet time for your brain to kind of process it, and you just have one focus for a few days. And I think that definitely improves the productivity. I'll have to test it out this month, and we'll see how it goes. But for the past few days, it's been quite nice. Yeah, hyperrealism is basically. I was just thinking of some values one should have. I just read the Stripe. Remember reading the Stripes operating principle, the kind of culture doc they have, and I really really liked it. And also was listening just a few weeks ago or somewhere in this month about Principles by Ray Dalio, and I was surprised how many times he iterates hyper realism, and I realized how extremely important it is because like big part of culture in his company is just really about like finding out the truth. Like it's epistemological pursuit in its full sense, and they're really trying to make sure they're not deluding themselves. And then I realized, boy, that's exactly what Charlie and Warren does all the time. Charlie talks so much about not fooling themselves, uh, and being, and also I think John Kushner also talking about how. They were very interested in intellectual honesty and independent thinking and so on. And I was like, oh wow, all these investment kind of, I don't know, organizations really, really care about truth. And I also realized how big of a value it is to me. And yeah, I just was like, fuck, hyperrealism is very important to me. And I should probably reiterate it. Yeah, and think about maybe I don't have an organization to lead or not Stripe, but maybe thinking of personal kind of operating principle or personal values I should really remember of to create kind of personal culture. And hyperrealism is like number one thing on top, and everything else is below it. And then I thought about people centricity, how everyone is obsessed. Koshla says the team you build is the company you build, while I'll slightly change it and say the people you have is the life you have. And so people are a power law, and you want to double down, you want to have long term relationships, and you want to pursue and seek the best of them. And you should really care about them. And at the end of the day, even if you don't, it's all about people. Like, it would be so much sadder and not nicer to live in this universe without all those people. And yeah, long-term thinking. Well, I like maybe long-term patience, short-term urgency. Yeah, and one here was maybe warmth and more. Oh, I really want to make sure this will. Ah, yeah, 28 minutes. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Okay, yes. Um, so five have simple daily checklists. Is just yeah, you make sure you don't forget anything. It's like doing sport, listening, working 9 hours, making good sleep, and so on. Writing something you're thankful for. Time blocking. It's just basically when you have a day and you are like, okay, I want to work. What exactly is the thing you're doing? Is basically you allocate for each task some time. So let's say this task specifically should take 90 minutes, and by the end of the task, you kind of do this Google-like stuff where you say kind of traffic light of is it green, well done, yellow, mediocre done, red, not done, or like bad work bout. And this really helps because at the end of a week you have just this traffic lights of okay, this day has been really good, all greens. This day has been shit, and it's a start, and then it went till the end. And seven, think of projects as bets. Okay, we have 1 more minute. I was listening to the book Thinking in Bets. I really liked it because it was also reiterating hyperrealism and epistemological pursuit of truth and how it actually really matters. And it talked about how projects can be seen, how things can be seen as bets. And I realized, fuck, that's a really good mental model, especially for thinking about projects. These are the main learnings. Yeah, these are just my past stuff. I'm running out of time, and I hope, guys, I'll see you, guys. This is not Mr. Beast. I hope, dear internet, I'll see you in 1 month, and I'll tell you how I have learned those things, applied, not made those mistakes, and fucking submit this thesis by 22nd. And yeah, and eventually get to US and so on. Thank you. Have a good day.